So a big thank you to everybody that came out to the live stream to watch me do my first impressions of this Unearthed Arcana. Unfortunately, there were some audio issues, so I'm going to record my thoughts separately from that live stream. Yeah. Anyway, so this Unearthed Arcana, the Folk of the Feywild, these are going to be a new mix of 4 races, following a similar kind of design structure as what we saw in the Gothic lineages that appeared last month. So in this UA, we're getting the Fairy, the Hobgoblin of the Feywild, the Owlfolk, and the Rabbitfolk. So I've gone through here. As I said before, talked about this on stream, but on this one, I'm just going to give a summary of my thoughts. If you've got any questions, leave them down in the comment section below, or come join up over on my Discord server, where I'll answer any questions. If you want to do some concept builds, things like that, that could be a lot of fun. So the link for my Discord server is going to be down in the description below. Starting off, you get the Fairy. The Feywild is home to many fantastic peoples, including fairies. Fairies are a wee folk, but not nearly so much as their pixie and sprite friends. Infused with the magic of the Feywild, fairies share a few commonalities with one another, but can differ widely in appearance, behavior, and attitude. Many fairies have a special physical characteristic that sets them apart from other creatures of their kind. For your fairy, roll on the Fey characteristic table or choose an option from it. The Feywild is a wild place, so come up with your own characteristic if none of these fit your character. So it gives you a cute little quirk table here. You have small wings like those of an insect. You have shimmering multicolored skin. You have exceptionally large ears. A constant glittering mist surrounds you. You have a small spectral horn on your forehead, like a little unicorn horn. Your hands never look dirty. You smell like fresh brownies. A noticeable harmless chill surrounds you. So, the fairy traits. You have the following racial traits. So your creature type, you are Fey. This means that there are certain spells in the game, like, hold person, that will not affect you because you do have this creature type, so I do consider that to be a plus. There are way more upside to getting the Fey creature type than there are downsides. Size, you are small. I'm not a big fan of this. I think that Wizards of the Coast should really try to innovate and create the rules for playing tiny characters. I have, homebrew races that I've created and I've seen other people create that come up with these rules for tiny characters. They don't really cause any issues at the table. It would just be nice to see some official mechanics for it. Only things I can really think of are like, maybe the hit points don't feel narratively right, as like, if you go tiny, I don't know, we'll say like Fairy Barbarian, maybe their hit points aren't really reflective of that. I don't know, not for sure. But my big hang up with this is the fact that you can't really create a fairy as per the sprite or pixie kinds of monsters that are in the monster manual as per the rules that you're given here. And I know that they make the distinction that they are, wee folk, but not as so much as their pixie and sprite friends. I don't know why this can't just be you are tiny. The mechanics can be there. Speed, your walking speed is 30 feet. Fairy flight, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed and can hover. This flight is magical and does not require the use of your wings if you have them. So, good parts about this, why this is really strong. You have a flying speed equal to your walking speed and can hover. This is going to work with Monk, Barbarian. You can take the mobile feat, and this is going to directly enhance your flying speed. And you can hover, which means that if there's an effect that would knock you prone, you instead remain hovering. The flight is magical. So this is someone brought up in the live stream that we couldn't really quite figure out how this might work with the spell magic, but I think that spell only really affects other spells. So I would like to see some sort of clarification on that into what happens if you lose this magical flight. When do you regain it? Maybe it's just suspended for the duration, as in like a Beholder's anti-magic cone, in which case you would get it back as soon as you leave the cone. No big deal. But maybe if there's an effect in here that says if you're under the effects of something that would suppress this flight, you regain it after you finish a short or long rest or something, or whenever the effect ends. But yeah, spells like that with like dispel magic, there should be some kind of a rule distinction there. Like I said on here before, I don't really have a problem with flying speed. I have a problem with like the way that Aarakocra gets flying speed, where it's like you can fly up to 50 feet. because that at the first tier of play starts to present some real problems. So, Fairy Magic. You know the Druidcraft and Fairy Fire spells. You can cast Fairy Fire without expending a spell slot, and you must finish a long rest before you can cast it this way again. You can also cast this spell using any spell slots you have. Your spellcasting ability for these spells is your choice of Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma. Okay, so I love this. I love that this is the way that, like, if we're just going to make spellcasting as a part of a race moving forward, this is the way I think it should be done. And they should go back, fix this up on Tiefling and on all the other races that get some form of innate spellcasting. This would make Genocide start to look pretty good. These are two really great spells to also pick up. They're very in flavor. Druidcraft for a lot of utility and like out of combat shenanigans. Fairy Fire is just a remarkable debuffing spell, like early on debuffing spell. And then if you don't go with a spellcasting class, you can still cast this as like a fighter or rogue, and as a purely a purely martial character, as a purely martial class, being able to get off Fairy Fire like once per long rest, that's a pretty nice effect, I'm not gonna lie. So I do give that feature a purple. That is, Fairy Fire is just such a great spell. Fey Passage. You can squeeze through a space as narrow as 1 inch wide. Okay, so small characters, we're talking about characters that are like basically like 5 foot and shorter, or like 4 feet and shorter. I forget exactly what the measurements on that are. But if we're talking about a fairy that is supposedly up to like 4 feet tall, being able to squeeze through a passage as narrow as 1 inch wide, just make it a tiny character. Wizards, please take on that challenge. Please challenge yourselves here to innovate some more. Let's come up with the mechanics for tiny sized characters. Would it be challenging? Maybe, but like, you guys are Wizards of the Coast. Let's do this. Just go for tiny sized characters. Let's see what happens. I think that the fairy overall, you've got a really strong feature right there with flight, right? Because what flight really effectively means is that you are immune to melee attacks as long as you have the area that you can fly around in. So with a feature like Fairy Flight, right? Anything giving you 30 feet of movement, we do value to be fairly high up there. I don't have a problem with this per se, especially in like homebrew worlds. If I'm running a module and sticking, AL strictly to the module, then this might be a little bit ick, but overall, I actually think that the fairy is okay. This is just the one narrative hangup for me that I am not a fan of. So the Hobgoblin of the Feywild. Hobgoblins trace their origins to the Feywild, where they first appeared with their goblin and bugbear kin. That history has left its mark, for though hobgoblins are found throughout the material plane, they continue to channel an aspect of the Feywild's rule of reciprocity. Not quite sure about that word, which creates a mystical bond between the giver and the receiver of a gift. On some worlds, such bonds leads hobgoblins to form communities with deep ties to each other. In the Forgotten Realms, vast hobgoblin legions have emerged with ranks upon ranks of devoted soldiers, noteworthy for how effective they are at fighting as a unit. Hobgoblins are generally taller than their goblin cousins, but not quite as big as bugbears. They have curved, pointed ears and noses that turn red or blue during displays of emotion. Cute little flavor text there. So hobgoblin traits. Creature type, you're humanoid. I think that, like, if we're gonna say that, they trace their origins to the Feywild, maybe they could be the Fey humanoid, kind of a hybrid. Just a thought. Size, you're medium. Speed, your walking speed is 30 feet. They're gonna get the standard dark vision. Fey ancestry, they get a version of it here that I don't know would... This is an altered version of it, because it doesn't have the, like, magic can't put you to sleep effect here, right? But it does have this avoid or end the charm condition on yourself. So this is better for that effect. And I don't really think that having the, magic can't put you to sleep, is going to really drastically increase the power budget on that. So I do think that Fey ancestry, if it got that addition to it, I would actually really not mind it so much. I think that Fey ancestry with this word is just kind of fixing, really more than anything, kind of a rule muddying, I guess you could say. But Fey Ancestry is a nice bonus. So Fey Gift, you can use this trait to take the help action as a bonus action. I really love the help action. Really, really do. If you don't feel like you've got anything to do on your turn, consider ways that you can use possibly the help or like dodge or dash. I mean, consider other things other than just I attack or cast a spell. So, but help is a really great, like being able to use it as a bonus action as well. It's really remarkable. And you can do so a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Starting at 3rd level, choose one of the actions below at the time each time you take the help action, whether as a bonus action or as an action. So we're going to get into those, but mechanically what I'm thinking about this is, does this mean that you can use the help action and then use a bonus action to take the help action? I think rules is written with what we see here, that does work, but I'm more than willing to be wrong on that. If that is the case, then we're seeing a really great support suddenly show up here. So what are these things that you get on top of the help action? Hospitality. You and the target of your help action each gain a number of temporary hit points equal to 1d6 plus your proficiency bonus. Already, I would have loved it if it was just that. I would have thought that this was just fantastic, right? Except you're getting more. Passage. You and the target of your help action each increase your walking speeds by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. I wonder if you're able to do this help as an action and then as a bonus action, if that means that you can increase the speed by 20 feet until the start of your next turn, in which case this fairy is going to have a flying speed of 50 feet. Well, it's possible. So yeah, I think that there should be some kind of a rules tip on that. But Spite is the one that I think has a lot of tactical use here. Until the start of your next turn, the first time you or the target of your help action hits a creature with an attack roll, that creature has disadvantage on the next attack roll that it makes within the next minute. So you can structure this as, if you're higher up in initiative, you take the help action, one of your buddies, and let's say that there's an enemy directly in front of you guys, take the help action on them. You hit the enemy with an attack. It has disadvantage on its next attack roll. Let's say it's the enemy's turn next. They have disadvantage on that attack roll. Your buddy goes in, hits it, and then they want to back up. Well, it's going to have disadvantage on the opportunity attack it's going to take to hit your buddy as they're leaving. So like, that's a really specific kind of a situation, but I can see the strength in this being pretty significant. It is only going to be on one attack roll, so, you know, I think it's pretty okay, but it is a really bloated down kind of a feature. I think I would have rather seen this be possibly like an errata addition to like Circle of Dreams, right? Kind of reinforcing the healer's support sides of the Circle of Dreams, and I think it would have fit in really, really nice. This is a racial trait I feel like is quite a lot that you're getting out of this Hobgoblin. And they're not quite done yet, because they're going to get Fortune of the Many. If you miss with an attack roll or fail an ability check or a saving throw, you can draw on your bonds of reciprocity, I'm guessing that's like generosity, to gain a bonus to the roll equal to the number of allies you can see within 30 feet of you, maximum bonus of +5. You can use this trait a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. I think that the wordage on this is a little flowery. It is better for early levels, right? That like your buddies are there, and that just the fact that they're around you, you can get possibly a +5 to a saving throw twice. That's a really good feature. I'm like, if this was tied into, let's say, charisma modifier, I still think I would feel like it was pretty strong. I think the way that I would be using this is like, okay, if you want to clutch out an ability check or an attack roll, this might be a really good way to do it. But for the most part, you're probably going to be saving this for your saving throws, because that's pretty impactful what that can do for you. That can completely turn the tide of a turn. So I think that Fortune of the Many it's like this is an example of where I think that maybe the narrative of it is good, right? It I guess the maximum bonus of +5 is what's sort of hanging me up. Sure, conjure animals or whatever can make for some real heavy shenanigans, and possibly overbloat that. So I wouldn't really mind it. Maybe if it was just like number of allies that you can see. Well, I guess if you have to be able to see them and you're blinded in this case, yeah, there's a little bit of fiddliness to this that makes me think that like it would just be nicer if this was tied into a charisma modifier or a, I don't know, wisdom, intelligence, or something like that. And then if you're playing in lower like number parties, like 2 players or 3 players or something like that, this is going to be a little bit weaker if you can't convince an NPC to run out with you. So yeah, is it a little bit unreliable? Possibly in certain party compositions, but it is providing you with a really nice perk just for having your buddies around, as long as you're not blinded. So, Fortune of the Many, Fey Gift, Fey Ancestry, Dark Vision. This Hobgoblin is getting quite a bit, and I think that Fey Gift alone is like, oh man, that is a nice bump. I personally don't like this as a racial trait, but I think I would like it more as a subclass feature, or possibly an addition to like a new class or previously existing class. I don't know. But yeah, so generally I'm okay with the Hobgoblin. It's just, I have some little minor quibbles. So Owlfolk, distant kin of giant owls. Owlfolk come in many shapes and sizes, from petite and fluffy to wide-winged and majestic. Owlfolk have arms and legs like other humanoids, as well as wings that extend from their backs and shoulders. Because of their ancestral tie to the Feywild, Owlfolk can innately see the magic of their surroundings. Like owls, Owlfolk are graced with feathers that make no sound when they move or fly, making it easy for them to sneak up on you in the library. Your Owlfolk character might be nocturnal, or perhaps your character is simply prone to rise later, embodying the common nickname of Night Owl. So, Owlfolk traits. You have the following racial traits. Your creature type is humanoid. I think that this is another missed opportunity. They could have added beast in here, like beast and humanoid. And I think it would have just been a nice little flavor bump, I can't think of any reason why they wouldn't do that. Size, you are medium or small. You choose your size when you gain this race. Speed, your walking speed is 30 feet. Dark vision, you can see in dim light within 90 feet of you, as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it were dim light. You discern colors in that darkness only as shades of gray. It is a stronger version of dark vision, which was already a good feature. However, this additional 30 feet, is it going to make a significant difference? I just don't really think so. You can possibly target further away creatures, and I think that that's like situationally better. I guess it's more dark vision. It's not bad for you or anything. I just saw some people in live stream saying that they thought that this was like remarkably good. I can't think of a reason why I think that this is like significantly stronger than 60 feet in most conventional combat scenarios, but it's there. It's a nice little bump. Magic sight. Your keen senses can focus to see the presence of magic. You gain the ability to cast the detect magic spell, but only as a ritual. Your spellcasting ability for this spell is your choice of intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. You can also cast the spell normally with any spell slots you have. So, detect magic, you're able to just cast it with, any of the spell slots that you get as a spellcaster. Right here, being able to cast this like in the middle of a dungeon, if it's gonna be as a ritual, then it's gonna take you 10 minutes to go through all the stuff to get this off without expending a spell slot. I know at my tables and on many of the dungeons I've seen designed out there, wandering monsters, patrolling creatures that are a thing in a dungeon, are typically making that check once every 10 minutes. So for me, I just roll 2d6. If the result is a 7, there's going to be wandering monsters come around there. It's like the dungeon crawl scenarios are where I think that this is going to do really well, because you're going to be able to see possibly, illusionary doors. You can find the magical loot. You can possibly find some hiding magical creatures. There's a lot of use for detect magic, especially being able to just do it as a ritual. That's a pretty great feature right there. I do like Magic Sight. I feel like it's creating an identity for Owlfolk that, like, this should probably kind of become a race other than just Owlfolk, because now it just feels like you're a humanoid owl, and this feels like, okay, we have a lore set for this, and yeah, I don't know. I would just like to see it named something else. Nimble Flight. Thanks to your wings, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. When you fall, you can use your reaction to make a dexterity saving throw, DC 10, to stop falling and fly in place until the start of your next turn. Okay, so I had some confusion about this second part right here about, like, really what that was doing for you. If you had a fly speed, what would happen is if you're knocked prone while you're up in the air or you're knocked down, you can use your reaction to then try to stop falling. Is it all that much of a big mechanical oomph? I don't know. Thanks to your wings, though, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. Notice that this is not restricted to wearing medium or heavy armor like the Aarakocra was. This is just, it's equal to your walking speed. So this is going to work with dash. This is going to work with mobile, monk, rogue, all that stuff. In fact, these are going to make some pretty remarkable rogues, especially with a flexible ASI. I think with this flight, it does need to have that kind of a restriction where, like, it is restricted by you can't be wearing heavy armor. And that's about it, really. I don't mind this so much. Silent Feathers, you have proficiency with the stealth skill. So you have proficiency with stealth, but I usually think that, you know, owls are creatures that are typically, like, wise. You have this dark vision and, like, the 90 feet of it. I think, like, keen sight, like, if they developed a theme around, you know, these quasi-beast creatures to get, like, some of the keen senses of those beasts, I think that's going to be a much stronger roleplay kind of a feature rather than just you have proficiency in the stealth skill. If it was like a situational, you know, keen sight, while you're making perception checks that rely on sight, you're proficient with the skill and can add either double your proficiency bonus or something like that. You're proficient with the stealth skill. It's like, okay, it's there. Stealth is a very common check. I think probably in the top 3 skill checks that you're going to make in this game. So if that's going to be another purple feature, these are all going to be very, very useful. How useful is flight? I mean, like I said earlier, it's a great positioning tool. Really great defensive tool as well. So Owlfolk is going to be really, really damn strong. Rabbitfolk. Bounding across the wilds, Rabbitfolk from the Feywild embody a spirit of freedom and travel. Rabbitfolk are bipedal, with the characteristic long feet of the animal they resemble and fur in a variety of colors. They share the keen senses and powerful legs of leporine creatures and are full of energy like a wound-up spring. Rabbitfolk are blessed with a little fey luck, and they often find themselves a few fortunate feet away from dangers during travels. So, Rabbitfolk traits, creature type, you are humanoid. Again, add beast to that, that'd just be cool. You're medium or small, choose the size when you gain this race. Speed, your walking speed is 30 feet. They're going to get this rabbit hop feature that is going to kind of extend their movement speed, but I think I would have rather have just seen this be either 35 or 40 feet. Hair trigger, you add your proficiency bonus to your initiative rolls. This is going to work out so well, so much so for Monk and Rogue in particular, and really like any support character that I think this alone, ooh man, it's going to make them look like some ridiculous rogues and monks. In particular, because you're adding your proficiency bonus to your initiative rolls, this works with reliable talent for Rogue. So Rogue getting to go earlier, the Assassin Rogue being a little bit more reliable on its features in order to go higher in initiative. Hair Trigger is so good that I would have rather seen this as a feat rather than, like, I don't mind it so much as a racial trait, but this is the kind of thing that I look at and think, I would have loved to have snagged this on so many character builds. This is just such a strong mechanic. Leporine Senses. You have proficiency in the perception skill, kind of the same critique that I levied earlier with Silent Feathers. I think I would have liked this better as a conditional kind of proficiency, possibly expertise. Lucky Footwork. When you fail a dexterity saving throw, you can use your reaction to roll a d4 and add it to the result, potentially turning the failure into a success. This is just cute. This isn't, I mean, when you fail a dexterity saving throw, you can just use a reaction to roll it. You know, if you fail it, but you feel like you're probably within the realms of succeeding, it might be worth it to use your reaction. Otherwise, it's kind of whatever. This is going to work out even better with Rogue and Monk because they have the evasion feature, and like you being able to turn that failure into a success and then having evasion on top of that, meaning that you don't take any damage from the successful result. Like, yeah, you can see why I'm really pushing for these as rogues and monks. Rabbit Hop. This feature to me, I feel like is a bit of a mechanical blah kind of a thing. And I know you guys can't really see it that well. Let me adjust this. Okay, there we go. So, Rabbit Hop. Once on each of your turns, when you walk at least 5 feet, you can hop, rolling a d12 and moving that many feet in a direction of your choice. This extra distance doesn't cost movement, but you can hop only if your speed isn't 0. So, round this up. That's the way that they're really thinking about it as far as the rule set goes. If you round this up, this looks like you're getting a free possibly 15 feet of movement speed if you roll an 11 or 12 on your turn, which is pretty nice. Just being able to possibly extend a, long jump or, running jump, whatever you want to say, being able to extend those distances would have been a lot more reliable and nice than this, like, I know I can clear this ravine as long as I roll an 11 or 12, and then, accidentally suiciding your character because you jumped. Yeah. So, I would rather see something like Rabbit Hop. I'll actually move that down. I think it's just a little bit unreliable, and you're going to want to rely on like long jump speed for most of the situations that I can really think of. If you're just thinking about this as additional movement, it looks pretty nice, right? I would have rather have that just been added right up here. Making either 35 or 40 feet. I've heard some people levy that like, well, races haven't previously gotten anything higher than 35. I'm just like, okay, so innovate. A walking speed of 40 feet isn't really changing the power, but like, it's nice, but you're moving an additional 2 squares. It's a nice positioning tool. It's not doing anything ridiculous. So if you got a walking speed of 40 feet and just removed Rabbit Hop or just gave them a little nice benefit to jumping, then I think that I would have liked this race significantly more. Yeah, my thoughts on Rabbitfolk overall, if you look at like Dwarven Stone Cunning, even something as situational as, keen smell or keen sight, keen hearing, I would have liked that a bit more for the narrative here than just like Leoprine senses, and then you have proficiency in the perception skill. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. So my final thoughts on this one are that it doesn't really feel like there's a whole lot of innovation happening. And I would like to see Wizards try to challenge themselves to do some more innovative mechanics. I like the idea of going in a different route with Hobgoblins to where they're not just the goblinoid, big red guys that we usually see. So I'm all here for this, but some of the features like Fey Gift and possibly Fortune of the Many, to me would make sense as a cool, unique, new kind of a subclass. So these as racial traits, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Owlfolk could use just some tiny tweaks. I feel like it's just a difference in taste from one designer to another, but I feel like I do like Magic Sight. Nimble Flight is here. I think that this should still get the restriction of like, while you're not wearing heavy armor or like possibly wielding a shield. I don't know. But Rabbitfolk just went through that one. So let me know what you all think down in the comment section below. Thank you so much for bearing with me as I'm getting back into the rhythm of everything around here. So I want to give a shout out to my Patreon sponsors. Thank you all so much for helping me keep the lights on around here and coffee in my blood. Y'all are absolute heroes. If you all join up with me over on Patreon, you're going to get some exclusive looks into my new dancer class that will be coming out hopefully sometime in Q2 2021. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Designing a martial support kind of a character option has been a real interesting challenge. So yeah, come check that out. You can see the playtest preview and everything like that. Come join up over on Discord, where we talk about a lot of homebrew design, video games, books, just kind of whatever, music. It's chaos. So if you're new to the channel, go check out some of my other videos, and if you like what you see, why not go ahead and subscribe? And I want to thank you so much for being here. I hope you all are staying safe, staying healthy, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.